Arrowverse Quick Takes number 11. Hey everyone, Adam from Passable Media. Woo boy, it's a busy week this week, just missing Superman and Lois for another fortnight. No sense preambling today as there's so much to ramble about. Batwoman Season 2, Episode 12, Initiate Self-Destruct. I really enjoyed this episode. The entire main cast sans Luke got their hour in the sun and everything seemed to gel well. The Alice Ryan buddy cop bit in particular was genuinely great, though I was kind of disappointed in the Batman Begins-esque thing, where Ryan justified not saving Alice as not actively killing her, and sure, she's alive and that's grand, but after an episode of me finally warming to Ryan as a character, that brought down the mood for me. I know she can't see Alice as anyone other than the woman who killed her foster mum, and that's fair, but she can literally see her warring with the two sides of herself and has seen proof of it in Ocean. It just seemed like a bad shout. That and Kate Not Kate absolutely kicked them both to the curb. It doesn't seem like she lost any of her skills when she had her personality and memories whammied. Sophie using her knowledge of Ryan's identity to delete the Batwoman result was quick thinking, and the writers didn't do the obvious thing and have her nabbed on the way out. Finally, does Mary not noticing anything up with Jacob even when Sophie draws attention to it not kind of reinforce Jacob's earlier points about her not being qualified to operate the clinic? Legends of Tomorrow Season 6, Episode 1, Ground Control to Sara Lance. Man, I love Legends of Tomorrow. It's just so damn different to everything else in the Arrowverse. It was not a superhero show set in a superhero universe before WandaVision was a twinkle in Jack Schaefer's eye. The revelation that Gary had been an alien all along was almost a stretch too far from me, as was Sara going toe-to-toe with his fiancé boss and coming out on top after Spartacus immediately got a tentacle through the chest and died. He was a bit part, I get it. He was funny, then they played out the joke, and he could die. But still. As ever, the character interactions were where Legends shines the brightest. They're all just terrible people and so awful at their jobs, but it's like a slow-motion car crash that you just can't stop watching. A few weeks ago I called Superman and Lois the crown jewel of the Arrowverse, but if I wanted to get someone into the Arrowverse that wasn't already and wasn't into the superhero shtick, this is what I'd go with any day of the week. Black Lightning Season 4, Episode 10, The Book of Reunification, Chapter 1. This was a much slower episode than I was expecting, following on from the high-octane threat of last week. I was expecting Anissa's suit to activate itself to save her, and instead it was Grace, and I couldn't remember for the life of me if that was her default form or not, but I guess so. JJ was saved by a doohickey in her suit to protect her from the fall, which in hindsight is exactly what Gambi would have done, and Jefferson kind of cheats his way to survival using active camo. Even Lynn got out of jail relatively quickly. Once again, the painkiller scenes hyped me up a wee bit for the hopefully upcoming series, and I'm kind of thinking that Khalil should be able to interact with JJ without any problems, no? Since she's not technically Jennifer, at least outwardly. And then of course there's JJ just getting her powers back by electrocuting herself while the emitter was still running, which I straight up don't get and kind of expect an explanation for. My money is now even more so on that big ball of energy in the ionosphere being the real Jennifer, but I admit that I'm starting to doubt myself week by week. The Flash Season 7, Episode 8, The People v Killer Frost. I called it. We'll get back to the sentencing thing in a mo, but yeah, what a shock. I was right, and the Speed Force is the villain of the story arc. Whether she's infected with a bit of Thorne's soul, or has just always been a bit of a bitch, we're not sure yet, but she has absolutely no qualms about trying to kill innocents, or Iris. It might have been corny, but the line where she said Iris might be Barry's lightning rod, but she's the lightning, chills. Very interested to see how they manage to cheese their way out of defeating the source of Barry's powers. Now, on the subject of the sentencing of Frost, I understand that it's there for drama and everything, but realistically, how on earth does a prosecutor think they're going to get a DNA-changing cure administered as part of a sentencing? At any point, the judge could have just said, nah, stuff this, you guys are crazy. And what's the point of either A, taking her powers away, or B, putting her in prison forever, when her whole defense was based on the fact that she's been saving people using her powers alongside the Flash? It's stupid, and we know she'll find a way out eventually, but for now it seems like splitting Caitlin and Frost and putting her in prison was just a way to take Frost's powers out of Barry's repertoire. Supergirl Season 6, Episode 6, Prom Again. So last week's episode was better for sure, but this was still a fun Midvale episode that gave us the explanation I wanted for Kara and Kenny drifting apart over the years. And they've played around with the time travel mechanics a bit to really push the boat out. In particular, the idea that Nia was the person who named Cat Grant is hilarious, but as with many time travel shows, does this not outright guarantee that this was always the thing that happened? Unless of course we see some other changes brought about as a result of their meddling in time. That's kind of where I sit anyway, a full-on predestination paradox. I've seen people online having an issue with Kara recharging off of the moon in this episode to heal from kryptonite poisoning. But first off, you know that the moon reflects sunlight, right? And second, this was a chunk of clearly very structurally weak kryptonite, weak enough to have been exploded by a weakened teenage Kryptonian's punch. I don't think her reaction to and quick healing from it are indicative of a change in the way that kryptonite works, but rather a note on it being a poor quality bit of kryptonite. Well, that was a busy week, and it's going to be very much the same the next week, so buckle in and get used to a few weeks of these videos being much longer. I've been Adam from Passable Media. Please like, comment, share and subscribe, and while you're at it, you might as well click the bell icon before you go on your merry way. See you again soon.